President Paul Biya decreased the number of regional councillors per division and per category, plus the modalities for regional elections, the configuration stipulated by law, and contextual analysis of the decisions in these newscasts. The maiden session of the follow-up committee for the implementation of the resolutions of the major national dialogue is chaired by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute. It evaluates the actions to restore peace and normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions. The Bapa Palace Museum in the West region, a depiction of the rich cultural and ancestral values of our people. The artifacts displayed exhibit a show of modernity to attract tourists. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 news.
Each of us must comply with the measures taken.
Welcome back. The presidential decree fixing the number of regional councillors per division and per category clearly establishes 70 divisional representatives of traditional rulers per region. It maps out the distribution of seats in accordance with provisions of the Electoral Code and the General Code of Regional and Local Authorities. Clarice Ari-Takang now presents the number of councillors per region.
In the Southwest region, Fako Division has the highest number of delegates, while Lebialem and Kupe Mwanenguba have the least. The number of those representing traditional rulers also varies depending on the divisions. In the Northwest region, while Mezam Division will have the most delegates with 18, Boyo, Ngoketunja and Menchum will have 7 each. Meanwhile, the Nyong and Kele Division will have the most number of delegates from the Center region and Mefu and Akono the least. Over in the South region, with 4 divisions, 21 delegates will be coming from the Ja and Lobo, the biggest delegation. Traditional rulers will have 5 representatives from each division. On the one hand, the Vuri division of the Littoral region will be sending in 30 delegates, the most out of the 58 divisions of the country. On the other, the Far North region will be expecting the highest turnout of delegates from the Mayo Danai division. The Adamawa and North regions equally have divisions which will be taking part in the regional elections with a great number of delegates. The Vienna for one and the Benue with 28 delegates for the other. The number of delegates from each division in the East and West regions are equally known. In the Land of the Rising Sun, the Upper Nyong division is topping the delegations with 23 delegates, while the Noon in the West region has the most number of delegates with 17. 70 delegates and 20 representatives of traditional rulers per region, 90 councillors, to take part in Cameroon's maiden regional elections.
Apart from the number of regional councillors per division and per category are now known, the head of state has also laid down the terms and conditions for state payments of costs relating to the participation of members of electoral colleges in the election of regional councillors. Charles Ebune in the following report explains the constitutional and contextual imperatives of such decisions.
The presidential decisions to fix the quota by region and by category for the election of regional councillors falls within the lege lata and the lege ferenda, that is, the letter and the spirit of the law of the 24-year-old current constitution, which states inter alia that the institutions provided in the fundamental law of the land are progressively put in place. Clearly, this is the time, according to Paul Biya, Cameroon's presidential timekeeper, to complete the governance mechanism of the country's administrative philosophy, decentralization. The regional code on decentralization already functional, city mayors already there, and an acceptable competence transfer to local authorities available. Here comes the moment for regional bodies to go operational. The modalities for the regional elections outlined for the divisional and traditional representatives representatives. The texts are signed by President Paul Biya a day after this year's annual revision of the electoral registers ended. The planned election will hold within a well-defined context, a sanitary context marked by the dictates of the coronavirus, an improved security context, especially in terrorism-hit regions like the Northwest and the Southwest, plus the far North, a context for the implementation of the recommendations of the major national dialogue.
For political leaders, the presidential decrees relating to the regional elections is a tacit indication of the will to implement the decentralization process. This will give the population a chance to be fully involved in the identification of priority projects and their execution for local developments. Constantine Baum sought their opinion and put them together in this report.
Decree number 2020/526 of 2nd September 2020 to fix number of regional councillors per division and per category has been long awaited by political parties.
We are ready to brace ourselves up in order to deliver the toughest battle. We are not alone. We will be many political parties to compete.
Both decrees come to indicate that the head of state is fully committed to decentralized powers.
Anyone who had reason not to believe should believe from the decrees yesterday that the President of the Republic is serious about ensuring that decentralization in Cameroon is effective.
The President of the People Movement for Dialogue and Reconciliation welcomes yesterday's decrees.
This is everything people have been looking for and asking. I mean, it's just come to meet, I would say, a popular demand.
It is a big step to get all Cameroonians at the grassroots contribute in building the country.
It's a big challenge for the whole nation to work in the sense of operationalizing decentralization.
The first decree fixes the number of regional councillors per division and per category, while the second lays down the terms and conditions of state payment of costs relating to the participation of members of the electoral colleges in the regional council elections.
Political scientists across the nation have been reacting differently to the text on the representation of regional councillors. While some see an attempt to provide equity, others have reservations on the elements taken into consideration for the distribution. Here's an excerpt of Professor Willibrod Dzengwa, interviewed by Kilian Dandifon.
It is in conformity with the outcome of the major national dialogue to accelerate the decentralization process in the country. In the same logic, he avails the Cameroonian people to some elections and having the chiefs or the traditional authorities involved. Some people will be happy for elections to take place because we wanted our chiefs not to be involved in some competitive politics with other politicians, but to compete amongst themselves. I think that the way the positions have been distributed around the country has no scientific base to the best of my appreciation, because you see some areas having too few representatives while some small areas having too many representatives.
As clearly stated in the presidential decree, 20 traditional rulers in each region will make up the future of the governing body of regions in Cameroon. The custodians of tradition have been quick to hail the decision, which gives them voice, and the majority think some reforms in the setup of chiefdoms must be made prior to the elections. This, Beatrice Lawsamba says they believe, will ease the choosing of their representatives.
They will emerge from close to 100 first-class and nearly 1,000 second-class chiefdoms to make up 20% of delegates to the future regional governing bodies.
We are very happy with the decree. Of course, 20 places is not much. Our chiefs should have the sense of unity, sense of oneness, love for country.
A golden opportunity to have a say in the steering of their own cultural, economic and education, as well as health and sports matters.
The traditional ruler has this particularity that he lives with the grassroots community and shares their routines.
The chiefs suggest the execution of the 1977 reforms on the management of traditional chiefdoms would make the selection of the College of Chiefs much easier. For now, they are reminiscing about the decree that gives them far more say.
In the Northwest, most inhabitants are of the opinion that the presidential decree stating the number of persons expected to run for the upcoming regional elections is a big step towards fast-tracking the decentralization process, while to others, it is a move that will help tackle some of the developmental issues in the region, as well as concerns triggered by the socio-political upheaval, as we hear in this report by Eric Langmia-Wufo.
Many in the Northwest region have been experiencing pain and hardship for over 3 years now, and the presidential move announcing the imminent holding of the regional elections is expected to address the present state of affairs.
This, if it's effectively implemented, is going to go a long way in solving the current socio-political crisis which we are facing at this particular point in time.
There are others who expect the regional council to speed up the decentralization process and also fast-track development.
The developmental problems of our various communities are local, and we cannot have national solutions. The solutions must be local solutions which are adapted to each community.
For this to be a reality, they are requesting men and women of integrity to be part of the regional council.
I'd like to see Cameroonians who are patriotic, who have the country at heart, so that they will now invest all their energies, all their synergies to ensure that our country develops and moves forward.
The Northwest region is expected to be represented delegates and 20 traditional authorities from all the 7 divisions that make up the region.
In the North region, where the role of traditional rulers in the development of their communities cannot be undermined, the presidential decrees were applauded. They intimate they will give them a chance to contribute in the realization of development projects and in the improvements of the well-being of their subjects. Vanessa Snamong has the details.
The head of state's decree fixing the number of regional councillors per division and per category, with a total of 90 in the north, is seen by many as a dream come true and a praiseworthy decision.
We are so happy for this decision and to know that we will now manage the affairs of our region. I am satisfied because we have the same number as the center and littoral.
Setting the number of regional councillors, according to many, tells that the country will soon completely put up all its institutions for an effective implementation of the decentralization process.
We hope that the regional council will continue the work which municipal councillors had begun for the effectiveness of this process.
While waiting for the convening of the electoral core, political parties and traditional authorities in the north have affirmed their readiness to actively participate in the state's development drive.
And to one of our top stories, the inaugural meeting of the Committee for the Follow-up of the Implementation of the Resolutions of the Major National Dialogue has taken place today. Prime Minister Joseph John Gute, while presiding, emphasized that government will spare no efforts in pushing for peace and the return to normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions. Christian Cheatam was there and now reports.
Coming some 6 months after its creation, this first meeting of the committee to follow up the implementation of recommendations of the Major National Dialogue made an overview of actions which the government has taken so far to restore peace in the northwest and southwest regions.
A bill on the promotion of bilingualism and multiculturalism was adopted by the National Assembly and the Senate. Within the framework of an extraordinary session of the National Assembly and the Senate, a bill on the General Code of Decentralized Local Authorities was tabled before the 2 houses of Parliament. Our parliamentarians and senators thus adopted this law.
The members not only evaluated the scope of the actions, but also the impact they have in the peace-building process.
Some of the implementations are not going on as fast as we would like it, but it is always better to be led than not to do anything at all. So for myself, I am content with it, with what is being done.
Religious authorities and members of the civil society who are members of the committee have called for an end to violence in the two regions and an effective resumption of classes all over the country. They have also pleaded for the return of persons who are still in hiding and the social reinsertion of ex-combatants. Prime Minister Joseph John Gute has invited members of the follow-up committee to at all times remain committed to the cause of restoring peace and normalcy to the northwest and southwest regions.
The holding of today's first ever session of the follow-up committee for the implementation of the resolutions of the major national dialogue is a firm demonstration to walk the talk to peace. It comes at a time when much has been done to execute decisions which were taken at the historic events last year. Charles Eboneh now takes a look at some of the key actions carried out.
To cost some 90 billion CFA francs, the reconstruction plan for the northwest and southwest, almost on course, is one of the recommendations of the major national dialogue. Already under execution, the Build Back Better initiative, just like the enactment of the Bill on Official Languages, seeks to tame the root causes of the deadly 4-year clash in the northwest and southwest regions. To this can be added the 2 billion tax relief package for economically stressed zones, the northwest and southwest regions included. To make things clearer, for the implementation of the special status for the two regions, the Regional Code on Decentralization is operational, with the regional elections planned to effectively see the so-dreamed House of Chiefs come back, for instance. And in due course of the major national dialogue, the state released another round of people detained in connection to the upheavals in the northwest and southwest regions. City mayors elected to replace government delegates to easily involve the people in the direct management of their communities. The government believes that with these and other peace-inducing methods, warmongers in the northwest and southwest regions should drop their arms and embark on the journey of a new Cameroon, the northwest and southwest, part of it.
Our Thursday of the Region slot this week zooms in on the anarchical construction of houses in Douala in the littoral region of the country. Several neighborhoods in the economic capital have houses that have either been built haphazardly or are in marshy areas. Our reporter Alphonse Abongwa visited some of these neighborhoods and says most of the occupants do not even have a land title.
This is Douala, the new town airport neighborhood, meters away from the gateway into the sub-region by air. One of the slums implanted here represents everything except the name of the place, New Town.
If this neighborhood were to be demolished, I think security services would not have been patrolling here. Taxation officials also pass around here to collect taxes. Do they collect taxes in a place that is not recognized?
They live with this impending danger each day and insist the neighborhood has legitimate documents which are not in their possession.
We do not yet have a land title, but we know this neighborhood has a land title because the community is aware we are here.
Away from here, the CCC neighborhood in Douala 3 still presents vestiges of the recent floods. Anarchical construction is the law that reigns in the area. Authorities have expressed the wish for the population to quit such risk zones. Wars keep shooting in these prohibited areas.
To deal with the construction problem in the littoral region, one of the mayors of Douala, Richard Mfungang, has issued a communique giving those who have built on drainage systems 8 days to either vacate their premises or risk being forcefully evicted, after which their buildings will be demolished. Findings on the field have revealed that the recent flood that hit the Douala 5 municipality is partly because of the houses erected on sewage systems. Details with Rene Kache.
These are areas originally carved out as drainage systems, but over the years, they have been unlawfully occupied by the population of the Douala 5 municipality. Recently, an unprecedented flood hit a good number of these neighborhoods. At its origin, the anarchical occupation of some of these areas. Authorities say the population have long been sensitized on the dangers constructing on such areas causes to the entire city and population. It is for this reason that the mayor of the Douala 5 municipality has given inhabitants who have constructed on drainage systems and other water channels 8 days to quit the areas concerned or face a systematic demolition of their buildings come next Tuesday. Statistics obtained from the communication unit of the Douala 5 Council reveal that about 700 houses have been constructed on different drainage systems and water channels in the Douala 5 municipality. The mayor for Douala 5, Richard Fengwang, has made it very clear that those with land title certificates on such areas are those who will escape the wrath of the council.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
On to this development story, an interministerial mission to the Far North region has begun to assess the damage of the recent floods that destroyed the Pala Bridge. Minister Paul Atanganji, leading the delegation of 7 ministers, will be seeking ways to provide solutions to the population, evaluate alternative access roads and urban housing. Ebenezer Akanga has the details from the Far North.
The interministerial mission, led by the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, was welcomed at the Marwa Slag Airport by the Governor of the Far North region, Mijiawa Bakari, defense and security officials, traditional authorities, and an excited population.
This is an interministerial meeting which was sent on the field by the head of state to come and make an evaluation of the floods and the disasters created by the floods. This is the first time we are having 7 ministers in a delegation in a region, because the head of state wants to know exactly appropriate solutions to the difficulty.
Another high point of the visit will be the handing of relief items donated by the head of state to flood victims in the region. On the first day of the visit, the members of the interministerial mission visited reconstruction work of the Mizao Bridge, the collapsed Pala Bridge, and the banks of Mayokaleo, which are being seriously eroded. At the end of the mission, a comprehensive report with proposals for possible solutions will be forwarded to the head of state.
On to the northwest region, inhabitants of that part of the country are here to shrug off the pathetic events of this September 1 and 2 that include the killing of a police officer. It is alleged that a uniformed man was murdered by separatist fighters. Sylvie Bata tells us more.
Deserted streets, especially in the Bamenda 2 area. The sound of sporadic gunfire has scared the denizens. Here is the area known as Mobilquin. There is life with heavy traffic and the people jostling for space. Motor taxis and other vehicles have fled the city center and have crowded here. Few intercity buses can be seen, and movement has been limited to the stretch linking the Mobilquin area to the administrative quarter, popularly known as Up Station. On Tuesday, September 1st, a police officer was killed by gunmen who were suspected to be separatist fighters.
In our Discovery page tonight, we'll take you to the Bapa Palace Museum in Bangu subdivision of the West region. It exposes the strong traditions of the people of the Grassfield and their ancestral beliefs. With a touch of modernity to attract tourists, Gu Henry Tersambe takes us on a tour to the palace and the Fuvu Cave.
Bapa and Bahama are 2 of the 9 second-class chiefdoms of the Upper Plateau Division West region. They are host to separate destinations which have attracted tourists from all over the country and beyond. Bapa Chiefdom in the Bangu subdivision can boast of this palace museum. The museum exhibits traditional artifacts that tell stories and display the cultural identity of the people, the entire West region, and Cameroon. It is the brainchild of the ruler of Bapa, Chief David Simu, who invites tourists to visit, adding that it will fascinate them. In the neighboring Baham chiefdom, in the Baham subdivision, there is this cave called Fuvu. With a height of over 5 meters, visitors come here to appreciate the landscape of the locality. Fuvu Club of Baham got its name from this cave.
Over to the South region, a project to construct a 110-kilometer stretch from Olunu, 25 kilometers southwest of Sangmelima through Oveng to the border with Gabon will soon begin. The first phase, worth 71 billion CFA francs, is scheduled to start on the first half of 2021. During a multi-sectoral meeting chaired by Governor Felix Ngelengele, the indemnization of the population on the stretch was discussed, as we hear in this report by Pontianos Lawong.
After decades of suffering on the Olunu-Oveng highway, bumpy and dusty in the dry season, muddy and slippery in the rainy, there is hope in the horizon. A project to tar the 110-kilometer stretch from Olunu through Oveng to the border with Gabon is in the pipeline. The first phase from Olunu to Oveng, 70 kilometers, is expected to begin in the first quarter of 2021 and will cost the Cameroon government some 71 billion francs. The first challenge will be to pay indemnity over property to be destroyed, and as a team of experts gets set to go to the field for evaluation, South Governor Felix Ngelengele has led a multi-sectoral commission to Olunu to sensitize the population.
The exercise is to assess the houses, to assess the farms that are along the corridor for the population to be.
Once construction work begins in early 2021, the Italian firm in charge, CRTV, has just 24 months to deliver the goods. The Olunu-Oveng highway will add to the Sangmelima-Jumtam and the Ebolova, Ambam, Kiosi or Abamenko highways to link Cameroon with its CEMAC neighbors, Gabon, Congo and the Equatorial Guinea.
Now on to COVID-19 news. 19,604 Cameroonians have so far been infected with the coronavirus. The recovery rate stands at 94.1%, which indicates the commendable efforts by health personnel to save lives. This notwithstanding, some Cameroonians wonder if the country is yet to attain the peak of infections. Baldwin Sama is at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center with his guest, Dr. Brice Fabo, with the details. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kim, and welcome. So far, the country has recorded 19,604 persons tested positive for COVID-19, and we have had 18,448 persons who have recovered from COVID-19, with 414 Cameroonians who have died of COVID-19, and so far the recovery rate stands at 74.1% with 742 active cases. That is to say, persons still living with the virus in the 10 different regions of the country. Tonight, with our guest, Dr. Brice Fabo, we shall look at the peak period in Cameroon. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening.
With the figures we have just announced to our viewers, have we reached the peak period, talking about the spread of COVID-19 so far in the country?
I can say that since the beginning of the COVID-19 epidemic in Cameroon, there's one period that we recorded a high number of cases. This period was between the 15th and the 21st of June. We recorded around 2,028 cases. Since this period, we didn't record a number like this. Yeah.
So Cameroonians are reminded that they must continue respecting the barrier measures, despite the fact that we have just over 700 active cases in the society.
They must continue the measure barriers. They must continue to wear the mask. They must continue to be the social distanciation and to wash and continue to wash the hand every time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brice Fabo, for being our guest this evening. Just to remind our viewers, 19,604 persons have been tested positive for COVID-19 in Cameroon. 18,448 Cameroonians have recovered from the virus. We have had 414 Cameroonians who have died so far of COVID-19, with a recovery rate that stands at 94.1%. and 742 active cases still present in our society. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Bodin Sama. And with your intervention, we end this edition of the 7:30 News, in which we heard that President Paul Biya has decreed the number of regional councillors per division and per category, plus the modalities for regional elections, the configuration stipulated by law, and the contextual analysis of these decisions were on tonight's newscast. Join Romeo Trise at 8:30 p.m. for the news in the French language. Tomorrow you'll be in the company of Ben and Bumagana at 7:30 p.m. I'll be back next week, God willing. Good night and thanks for watching.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing